G'day, Andrew here again from Guitar Street. Thanks so much for tuning in and welcome to the first episode of the Vintage Humbucker Tone Library. So what is it? It's an experiment. What I'm going to do is take as many humbuckers as I can, put them into the same guitar and see how they react. I'm trying to get an idea of the range of tones for each of these pickups in the same environment. This is not about the guitar. This is about the pickup. This is about how each one of these pickups is going to sound in the same environment. So let's get into the experiment as such. If you remember science class, what do you need to do? Once you've identified the variables of an experiment, you've got to control them. I've identified a number of different variables in this. Number one, the guitar. Yes, it's going to be the same guitar every single time. Two, the strings. I'm going to be using D'Addario 10 to 52s. They are going to be changed the day before each test. 3, the setup. I'm going to have the same setup on this guitar every time. I'm not changing anything in the action or anything else. 4, the lead. The lead will stay the same. Further on down the signal, we have the amplifier. I've chosen to use the Positive Grid Spark amplifier. What I'm trying to do is control all the variables here. So having a Spark amp allows me to dial in presets that never change. These are going to be the exact same presets. I'm going to be running 4 presets. 1, slightly dirty jazz blues. 2, a nice nasty hard riff 80s rock. 3, be a Metallica style thrash metal. And 4 is more of a high gain 80s, 90s rock. Think Van Halen or even Judas Priest. Microphone. We're running the Shure SM57. Yeah. So I know that the microphone positioning has a huge effect on sounds. I spoke to my mate Rob from Auxiliary Workshop. He's a producer. He taught me how to mic up this Spark amp. It was tough on him, I reckon. We started at the middle and then we moved to the middle of one of the speakers when I realized it had 2 speakers, and then he kindly sat with me, showed great patience, and we found a nice neutral spot. I've marked that up and the microphone will be in exactly the same spot every single time. The room will also stay the same, as will the position of the amplifier in the room. Lastly, running into a Scarlett interface and into Pro Tools. There will be no After Effects put on any of these tones. This is what is recorded through the mic and onto the computer. I don't want to change anything. I just want to see what these things sound like. All right, let's talk about the guitar. If you watched the previous episode, you'll know that I've bought a guitar specifically for this experiment. It's called the Mule because this thing is going to be the test mule. It's an EG 500 from 1978. It has a beautiful flame top. Yes, it is a chambered body, and yes, it is a pancake construction. I'm not going to go into the positives or negatives of the construction of the guitar because that's really not the point. If you've got a bee in your bonnet about the guitar I'm using, would you have a question if I was using a Nolan era Gibson Les Paul? Probably not. Okay, into the harness. This is one of the big variables I wanted to control in this experiment. I didn't want a pot dying on me halfway through. So I've taken the guitar to Matt at Salt Mine Repair, and he's created a beautiful 50s style harness. We've got brand new Godot 500K pots and vintage Russian paper in oil caps. I got those through Guitar Source. They're awesome. I've used them in a lot of my guitars. With a 50 style harness, it doesn't get that muddy kind of sound as you roll back off the volume. This is going to give me a lot more breadth in the tones I'll be able to get out of these pickups. Matt's created some lug extensions for me. One is directly from the hot lug. The other is soldered to the top of the pot and will become the ground extension. Yep, I could have gone a solderless solution, but I'm really keen to develop my soldering skills. They kind of suck at the moment, so the more time I spend soldering, the better. Okay, so let's get into the pickups that we've got for this first episode of the experiment. They are the Greco U1000s. Now, they're manufactured by Maxon in the 70s. Maxon was also making the Ibanez pickups. Interestingly, these pickups, the U1000s, are exactly the same as the Ibanez Super 70s. According to the Japtone website, the average resistance for these are usually around about 7.72K. They're an Allen Co 8 magnet as well. Interesting to note, they are also entry-level pickups for Greco at the time in the 70s. Just a really quick note on Greco or Maxon pickups, they're really hard to identify. Seriously, there is no visual tell between a U1000 or a U2000. If you've got a set of these, pretty much all you'll be able to tell is what year they were made. Check out the back. You're either going to have 5 digits or 6 digits. The first digit is not an identifier of the pickup, just the production line. The rest is a date code. So you'll be able to age your pickups but not figure out what they are. While I'm on that, if you are looking on the secondhand market for Maxon pickups, specifically if you're looking on the secondhand market for dry 82s or screaming 82s, be wary, be very, very wary. There are a lot of counterfeits popping up on eBay and other auction sites at the moment. They are easy to spot though. These decals would have been put onto the pickup base plates before wax potting. That means that any of that wax that's left over on the base plate should also be on top of the decal, not underneath. Someone is producing slide decals for the Screamin' 82s and the dry 82s. Anyway, we're not testing dry 82s or Screamin' 82s today. We will be in the future, so hang out for that. We're concentrating on these U1000s, so let's get into it. All right. Lastly, there will be an extension to this experiment. I am going to be sending these pickups across the world. I've already got my mate Rob, who I mentioned before. He's going to be creating a tone test for me on some Godot FVH 1001s. That's a mouthful. If you'd like to be part of this experiment and create some tone tests on these pickups in your own rig, drop me a line. Either hit me up on here or my Instagram account at guitarstreet.co. If you'd like to support me, because these pickups don't pay for themselves, please head to guitarstreet.co, grab a t-shirt. Much appreciated for all of you who have already bought t-shirts. You're really keeping the ball rolling, so thank you very much. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's get into it. Please hit subscribe or follow us at Instagram at guitarstreet.co. Cheers.